Hello guys, good morning. This is Friday. Hooray, it's Friday. So guys, if you were able to watch my video last night, so we are implementing generic repository and of course the unit of work. So last night I just showed you the generic repository for the entity user. So today we'll try to cover creating a generic repository for other entities. And let's say if it works, not only for the user entity, but it will works on other entity. Okay, so I hope you watched my previous video. So, but before that, I just show you that uh, it's not just a tutorial, but I really implementing this in my previous project. So for the last project that I have, that was in the year 2020, we're already implementing generic repository and a unit of work. So this is really a big project. This project is just one. So we are not using .NET Core framework or .NET 6. This is basically .NET framework, so the old one. So if you can see in the properties of the project, this is .NET Framework 4.7, 4.5. So this is .NET for 4.5. So yeah, this application or console. This is a console application. Actually, we also have web application that also using generic repository and unit of work. This one is just a console application. So what's the purpose of this? Is just extracting a bunch of XML file. So it's a bulking XML file, and we are going to save that in our database. And after that, the database, the web application will get from that data for reporting or for consolidation or for updating, checking by the operation. So as you can see here, yeah, we have the core folder here, and this is we are just using complete. So this is the unit of work interface, and then when we take a look at there are a lots because there are lots of entities already. So that's what we are trying, or I'm showing you to be created in the .NET 6. So but basically in this program, it's not using dependency injection, so it's tightly coupled to our um, calling program. So iRepository, this is the one. So these are all the signature. Okay, so it's a generic repository. So in our program series, which is the consumption or the one who will use this generic repository, as you can see here, is this basically, for example, this part, this is updating. So we're just calling the entity or the party address is 56B and then putting a new value on that and just call the unit of work and then complete. That is already saving to the database. So this part is, there are lots of things to do. For example, this one order party is fine. So we are not, so basically in the, for example, the find, the unit of work that find or unit of work that add, unit of work that add rings like that. This is just in memory collection. And the time that we are going to update or to save it to the actual physical database, that's just a unit of the work that complete. It doesn't matter if it's address table, order table like that. So that's the role of unit of work. Uh, bunch of transaction that will be treated as a single application. So, for example, this one order line reference, address, and the entities or the enumerable is order ref. So, if you look at this order ref, this is a collection. So when you want to save it to the database, just you need to work that complete like that. Okay. So yeah, this is an extraction program, extraction from the XML and then save it to the database. Okay. So this was before, so this is already 2 years that it's been running and being used by the company. So as you can see that. So yeah, basic. I mean, we are, as you can see here, unit of work. We are directly instantiating or creating the class of unit of the work. But in our .NET 6, we registered is in the controller and inject it in the our constructor. So that's the how dependency injection work. But here we are tightly coupled to our unit of work class. So that's just showing you that it's really used in my real application project. Okay, so moving on, if we have another new project, I will be using that .NET 6. All right, so we are going to implement it in .NET 6. Actually, we have started with the user repository. So now I'm just showing you how to create another one for the other entity. All right, we will have the car repo. So first, of course, the generic repository is there already. So that are the signatures. The unit of work, you just add here what, for example, we have to create first the iCar repository. So you are once you get started, you are just going to follow it. So first we have to create and this will be interface, iCar repository. Okay, and then oh yeah, it's misspelled. iCar repository, repository. So we can rename it. So this iCar repository, because we are going to have a generic repository, so we are going to implement the I generic repository of type car entity, right? So we just have to bring the namespace for car, control period, and it's in the model. Okay, just like that. And of course, you can have your own signature here, specific for this car repository. But if you don't want, in the I generic repository, that are the signature that will be available. Example, you can get all, you can find like that, you can add, you can remove. So say we are not going to do or to have this code inside our car repository. Okay, we just have to put on signature here, specific for the car entity. For example, if you want to have uh, a listing of car that is specific like that, and it's not part of, you cannot get it from the generic repository signature, you can just put it there. So it's specific to the car. It's not available for the generic one. So this one are generic that will be applied for all entities. Okay. So after creating your car repository, all you have to do is to add it in the unit of work. So you have to add your car repository here as repository, and as you just name it, this is only a get, so you are just going to get it. You are not going to set the value, so we are just going to name it car repository or car service. just to follow the naming convention that the user is using car user service. So we have to call it car service as well or anything. That's just a variable. Okay, so in unit of work. Now in the implementation, the unit of work, you have to pass here also. Yeah, it's already complained because we added a new signature here, but it's not being implemented. So you just have to implement it. So you have now the iCar repository, iCar service. Now we are not going to implement it yet because first we need to create the car repository implementation of the iCar repository. Okay, so that's one thing that's only the things that you need to do. But in the generic repository, you have nothing to do here. It's all are generic as well as in the iGeneric repository. You have nothing to do. You are just going to inherit it. All right. So basically, when you create the car repository, after creating that, you can add your own signature specific to that car repository, and all you have to do is just to put the new repository in the unit of work. So this is just a variable declaration of type your interface repository, and I only get. And then when you implement in the unit of work, of course, you just have to pass this, and you have to call the the concrete class, the implementation class of your car repository, passing the context that we inject here. That's the class that will allow us to communicate to our SQL server using Microsoft Entity Framework Core ORM. Right, so now we have to create our car repository here. So as you can see, that class, as you can see, we are not repeating the codes for the uh, add, gate, querying, remove like that because we put it in generic repository already. Of course, the saving is done by the unit of work. So that's nice. So we have to implement our, let's see, this is car repository. This is the implementation of what we just created, interface for the car repository. Okay. So basically, we have to, car repository, we have to inherit first the generic repository. Generic repository. And we pass the entity of type. That's already car. Then we just have to bring the namespace control period. And of course, we have to inherit. This is now a multiple inheritance. The I generic repository. That's I generic repository. Right? What's the generic repository? Okay, it's also we have to pass of type car, and then I just have to bring the name piece here. It's misspelled. It's in the interface, and of course this one we have to implement. What? There's no argument. There's no argument that corresponds to the required format parameter of context. A minute. We are wrong here. We should not inherit the IA generic because it's already inheriting from the generic repository. So what we are going to inherit is here is the interface iCar repository. Repository, and of course that's something like that. And this one is complaining that just going to put the, yeah, that's one. Okay, so that's our car repository. And then, um, so I guess this is just the one. So unlike in the user repository, we are having a collection here because in our interface of user repository, we have a specific signature for the user repository, which is the user collection. So let's say if it's work, if we have no user collection in our car repository, I think we don't need it to put it here. Okay, let's implement the, we can find it out. Then we implement the API. All right, so you can see guys, we are just having a minimal code. So all of this, we are not repeating. Also the implementation of this generic repository. So we are not repeating it because it's already generic. So what we did is just to create the iCar repository and inheriting the iGeneric repository of type car that is generic. And then in the implementation of the car repository, you just inherit from the generic repository, passing the car entity. And of course, you have to inherit the car iCar repository. And from that, in the unit of work, you can now implement here because it's already available. The new car underscore repository and passing the context. Uh, no, this is not interface. This is the implementation. Uh, yeah. So why I put underscore here? This one has no underscore. So anyway, all right. So we have now the car repository. So that's our abstraction. That's our data access layer um, code to to communicate with our database. So now in our web API controller, we have to create another API here. Just I mean controller. So of course that's not MVC, that's API. So this just have empty. Or you can choose the other one that have already read and write endpoints, or the it will give you a, a template so you can just modify for all your own needs. But let's go for empty. So we will name it car repository, car controller. I mean, so by default we already have the route. That is your. It will be like that. Your, for example, your address, localhost 500, and then should be API and car like that. Okay. So first thing we have to do here, we have to inject our unit of work. So unit of work, unit of work. Let's say W of work like that. No? Then we bring the namespace. Okay. So let's create the assign the property. So like that. Okay. Now we have to create now our, for example, we have to query the car. So we have to create now our endpoint. So first is HTTP GET that will allow you to query, and let's have our public method here. I think we can have a task or boolean. Oh, let's look. Okay, let's public I action result, and this will be get cars. So all cars will be returned. So basically we have to unit of work w dot see. You can see now there's a car service and you just keep all this one. Of course you have to return. Okay, I think that's all right. Right, so that's all. So we can have a variable here, cars, like that, and we pass the return variables here. And that's our API. So we call it, that will be API car. So let's try to debug and see if it works. Let's run our program. So we have to look our database if the car has data. But anyway, we can try out our endpoint first. So let's execute. Oh, you can see it's success. But oh, we have a car. This is car 101 and the rest. Okay. So when we check our database, okay, why I going to create another instance? So database now. So we're able to get here. Let's just check our database. I'll be using my engine here. So if we take a look here, this VR is in tables and then cars. Just have to select it all, select only. Right, so we have this car information already. So that's one is being displayed. That's the one that being displayed in our API. So now we create the, for example, we update or add cars. We need to add cars. So we have to create this HTTP post because that is posting. And let's say this will be a task. So I think we make it as async because we have to save it in the database like it is already an asynchronous. So task of I action result, and then you have to say add car or say add car. Then you pass the entity car, uh, bring the beneficiary for our models, and what's the problem here? It is static. Why I put it here? Should be here. Okay, so unit of work that our service. This is we have the add method name signature, and basically we just add our entity here. And of course, after adding in the memory, we have to await because that's asynchronous unit of work. This is the complete or the saving to the database. So when you take a look of this, this is in the unit of work is asynchronous. So that is why we put our method as async as well. So this is context that's it async, right? And then of course we need to return okay, meaning it's That's no error. Okay. So sub to one. Okay. So let's build on quick allocate. We can add a car. So for now in our database, we only have one car. Oh, it is mini instant already. Let's see our tables cars here. Still, we only have one. So now we add another car. So this is our post API car. Let's try out. And this is good for Swagger because it will give you already this part. So let's take a look in our database. If this car ID is okay, I think this is not generated. I mean auto increment. This primary it's not even a primary key. Okay, so we supply this is integer. Supply the var ID. So let's see this is one. The plate number. Let's see 2456. And the description is uh, Fortuner, Fortuner 4.5. And there's no 4.5. It's execute. Okay, let's see it in here. So basically, this is the one that we add there. Then car ID, Fortuner, plate number, and then basically when we add that, it will go to this generic repository, passing the car entity, and then yeah. Oh, error. Okay, one right. I think what's the error here? Unable to track the instant of the car because it does not have a primary key. Only entity types with a primary key can be tracked. So yeah, it's complaining that there's no primary key. But let's see if it's being added here. Because this car has no primary key, so we can put it as set as primary key. It's not adding. So this the hmm, primary key. Okay, so take a look in our car entities. Okay, in the user entity. I think it's good if we just add here and just make it a primary key. So let's try to this again. Uh, so I already added a primary key here. So run it again. Postcar I have only one. Eh, Um, right now there description, function, um, add it, square, monitor laptop error, still having error. Hmm. Unable to track the instant of the car because it does not have a primary key. Only entity types with a primary key may be tracked. Okay. Yeah, I think we are wrong because this car ID is already is identity plus yes. So we are not going to ask the car ID. Let's try it out again. That's why it's having an error. Uh, Solution. So we have to omit this car ID and just apply the bit number 45 and again this will be culture and certificate and there we go. Oh, it's error again. Error respond 500. Unable to track the instant of the car because it does not have a primary key. Why it's always complaining does have primary key? I already did it. Already updated the database. Okay. Okay, I think I and another problem. We cannot change directly on the table, but we have to change from here. We can put this just try if this work. We put this as the key car ID. This one in our where's this our models. I mean the context. This one. Okay. Where's the let's just find it. So has no KL. I mean it. This is it. Hopefully this will solve. Try out. This time this this is the plate number. Okay, to execute. And let's go here. Oh, that's the issue. That's the problem. So it's adding now. All right. So we have now 200. If you can see here, it's not two records now. Okay, one, two, three. All right. So we just add. We just add in the model. Wait, okay. So you just have to put a name here instead of car. We have to see add car like that. Alright guys, so this is working. We have can get the cars, we can uh, add cars. So next we are going to put remove card. So it's delete. This is for remove. So by this we are going to pass the ID of the card that we are going to remove. So that's the ID here. And then this will be public I action result and remove card. Just have to pass the card and the ID. like that. I think that's it. Okay. We just have to decorate this with delete. So it will be delete. That's the idea of the car we're going to delete. And our unit of work. First, we are going to have variable car, new car, things like that. And then our car, we have to find it on our unit of work. Then car service. We have here the method find. We just have a lambda expression here. And we will use car ID is equal to the ID that we passed in our API. And this will be first or default. So we will return the ID is integer. ID is equal to, should be integer like that. And after we find it, we have to we have to save it to the database. Yeah, this is the complete save async. And then this is asynchronous. You can put your async of tasks some results. And of course, you have to put a read here. And then you can return okay. So, okay, I think that's it. Remove. Let's try to debug it. Right, we have to run it and we'll take a look in our existing records. Oh, we are going to delete this 123. I mean this ID2. So we have here. So you see here the post that we are just putting add car, and this is delete car, and we are putting delete and a parameter of ID. So we try it out, and we're going to delete an ID of one, the two. Let's execute an error response parameter. Delete ID. One or more validation error occurred. That's the problem. Validation error occurred. Okay. We need to pass here. What is user ID? Huh? I am going to the user. Should be the car. Yes. User. Oh, it's, this is the car. Why is this happening to you? It's, the scene. It's okay if it's not synchronous. Let's try again, what's the problem? I'm just gonna go synchronous. Um, this, mhm. So let's try out. It's only giving me one here. That's why it's in error. But when you take a look in the user, it will give you two this user deleter. So it will have these two box, user ID and the ID string. What's the problem? Why in the car? It's only one box. There's no other one. That's why it's complaining. This is two. So let me check it again. What's the problem? Alright. We're not able to use the car service remove here. We forgot here. That's why I remove. So I'll try to hop into this swagger. Will not give me this. It's only the ID. Car ID. Let's take a look on the user. Oh, why is not having error here? User ID. That's a problem. Car ID. I think this is just basically the same. The swagger is not giving me the parameter to input, only one. What's the issue? Because the user here, there is two. But this the car. Oh, this will be car. I think it will not offer if they have the same, make the same parameter. This one and the ID here. So just send this to car ID instead of ID. And it display here, car ID. So we try it out. Then we have to remove the one like that. So this will be okay. See? So we are passing ID. And then we're finding. And then now we are able to find the card. This is the card that we're going to delete the rust. And finally delete it. Alright, it's responding now. Okay, that's work. Now we are going to have an update. We are not implementing an update yet, so it's just basically the same with this. So since we update, we have to use the HTTP put, and this will be public action result. Update car, that will be a car entity. Okay. Just like here in the add car. So maybe we can put this as a sync of task I action result. So our code will be asynchronous. So it will yeah, right. So before that we are going to have our bar cars in static. We have to pass, for example, the property in the car is plate number. This will be plate number. Why is not? Why is not? No, I think since we are going to update, so this means to say we are just going to find. I think we need to have the integer car ID. Then first, we have to find var car. This is supposed to involve the car service that find. Just have to find first car ID first car ID, and then if we able to find that, you can just change like that. The car equals plate number. Let's see, this will be the new plate number. We're going to update. It's 657, and check out the description. This will be Innova 28. That's it that we're going to update. What's this? Turn on. Then after we update, of course we have to let it work, save as sync. To save as sync. And then of course this is only um return off to result. Alright, I think this will work or updating. Let's build it and so this is the put, and we try it out.
So I think I didn't see this. I didn't want to update. For example, the tool is updated. Update and then execute. So it's passing out the tool. Um, right, we find the number two, and then we'll paste this description to Innova and then set as start. So it's successful. So it's updating. Then we check our database. It's really updating. So it's updating. So okay guys, thank you for watching this video. So that's basically CRUD operation and web API, and we are using generic repository. So in our previous user repository or user web API, we have no updates here. But now in our car repository, I shown to you that that's just so easy to have an update. So basically, you have just to find first the car ID that you are going to update and put the new information here, and of course code our unit for work, and it will change the update in our actual database. Okay, so that's for now guys. So this is how your generic repository implementation works. So if you can see, we have really minimized the code in our uh, interacting with our ORM to save the data to our database. So we can query, we can delete, we can add, and we can update our existing records in the database for this tutorial. So guys, don't forget to hit the bell button so you will be notified in the next upcoming video, and also subscribe so it will be a must, or I will be thankful that you will subscribe to my channel, and happy learning and bye bye.